Hello everyone, Wildcard here. You may have noticed that I haven't been producing too many videos lately, the simple reason being that I've been occupied by school, lab work, and things like that. I'm taking a few minutes of my time though right now to discuss with you what I've been up to lately. Let's rewind the clock back a few months. Back in April and May, I've been deliberating with my professor over the possibility of an internship to Nigeria. My professor himself is Nigerian-Canadian, having immigrated to Canada from Nigeria several decades ago, but also retaining many of his ties with faculty at the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, to whom he has since cooperated with on several occasions in producing research papers. Initially, I was told the answer was no, simply because things were not adequately organized, but later in June I was given the thumbs up, and so by early July I was in southern Nigeria on a 2-month internship. Anyway, so I'm not here to talk about the internship specifically, but rather the person who was coordinating this whole thing on the Nigerian side of things. From early July through early September, I've been working with a Nigerian university professor named Peter Uzegu on various things related to tropical diseases. First, allow me to give a little bit of background information about this guy. In Dr. Uzegu's early days, he married his wife and had several children. 6 months after 3 of his children were born, the children began experiencing unusual signs and symptoms. First, it started with hand-foot syndrome, then jaundice, then hepatomegaly, followed by intense pain. They were suffering enormously, and there was nothing Uzegu or his wife could do to alleviate it. Eventually, those 3 kids were diagnosed with sickle cell anemia, and he and his wife were both subsequently genotyped as carriers of the mutant hemoglobin allele. If you're not familiar with sickle cell anemia, I recommend that you pause the video and check out the Wikipedia article linked below. The menace of the disease, the pain it causes, the effects it had on his life as a father and husband, the broken homes and marriages it wrought, the lives lost, the impact on his nation, it all compelled him to do something about it. No family should have to go through what he had gone through. And so in 1986, he set out upon an awareness campaign to educate others about sickle cell anemia, and he hasn't stopped since. Using portable generators, projectors, screens, PowerPoint presentations, board and chalk, or simply his own voice, he has delivered countless lectures to both urban and rural communities in Nigeria. The presentations cover pathogenesis, signs, symptoms, treatment, risk factors for crises, etc. But the key message delivered, the one that audiences have taken to heart and will truly have a long-term positive impact on the community, is to avoid genetically incompatible marriages. By this I mean avoiding marriages where both mother and father have at least one sickle cell allele, and thus have the possibility of rearing sickle cell children. But how do these people even know if their genotype to begin with? Are they wild type, heterozygotic, or what? Well, that's where his experience as a biochemist comes in. He takes blood samples from his audience, and back in his lab, using some cellulose acetate paper and the magic of tris buffer, he does something called electrophoresis to diagnose their genotype based on the type of hemoglobin proteins expressed in their blood. Alongside this, he also tests for blood grouping, like O positive, A negative, etc., and supplements his sickle cell lecture with information about blood grouping and the reproductive consequences that go with it. The reason why he does this, other than for the simple reason that old knowledge is good, is that he found through experience that many people confuse blood group with genotype. One anecdote of his is of a husband and wife he met who were in complete disbelief that they had sickle cell children, saying that this was impossible as they were both O positive. As HIV/AIDS is also becoming increasingly relevant to world health, he also provides an additional lecture on HIV/AIDS and tests their blood for the virus as well. Thus, while the principal objective is sickle cell anemia, he also provides testing and information on HIV and blood grouping. The number of people he has genotyped for sickle cell disease thus far is around 70,000 people, and the number of people he has lectured on these various issues easily totals hundreds of thousands. While Dr. Uzegu spearheads this campaign, he's not a one-man show. He is often assisted by his students, undergraduate and graduate, family members, and other volunteers. On several occasions, I myself assisted his campaign through collecting blood samples from his audience and analyzing them back in his lab. Notably, Dr. Uzegu has also cooperated with Rotary International and the Catholic Church in providing these services. In 1994, he formalized endeavors with the establishment of the Association for Sickle Cell Enlightenment campaign. In 1995, he published a 70-page book titled The Family Guide to Understanding Sickle Cell Syndrome and distributes this wherever he goes. On the academic side of things, he has also published 26 research papers related to his field of research and a chapter in a Nigerian textbook on sickle cell anemia. He would publish more often, but his devotion to his campaign consumes his time. Everything he provides is free. Everything is paid out of his own pockets. The teaching supplies, the book printings, the medical supplies, fuel, everything. And I'm frankly shocked by that. Despite the significant impact he's had on community health for the last 24 years, no one has ever offered him any financial assistance or grants whatsoever. So, without prior prompting on the subject, I mentioned to him that I had a YouTube channel with 2,000 subscribers, and that I have some experience organizing fundraisers online, having organized one for Malaria No More back in April 2009. I therefore suggested the possibility of using my online presence to fundraise money for his campaign. He said he would truly appreciate it, that it would provide him a massive morale boost, and I paraphrase this last part, that the knowledge that people on the other side of the world care so much about the plight of the poor and ignorant that they are willing to help support his educational campaign would revitalize his spirits on this entire matter. So that's why I'm here, and this is what I've been working on lately. Right now, I'm merely seeking information and a bit of advice from you. Now, I understand that the extent to some people's knowledge of Nigeria extends no further beyond the 419 emails you occasionally receive, and so I understand perfectly if you are uncomfortable with the words money and Nigeria being mentioned in the same sentence. But please, if you do have such associated fears, please ask questions and express your concerns so that I may resolve them. Second, I am deliberating as to which method of money transfer would be suitable and agreeable to all of you. Last year I used the First Giving website to act as an intermediate between you, the donor, and Malaria No More, the recipient. But this is different. The first problem with using First Giving, or an equivalent, is that Uzegu's education campaign is not based in the United States, and there might therefore be some nasty paperwork issues to deal with because of that. The second problem is that to set up a hosting page for this organization, and I don't mean a donating page like I did back in April 2009, but a web page for the charity itself so that it is officially recognized by First Giving, costs $300 a year, and that is simply too large a bite out of the donations I expect to receive, which I doubt will be more than what I raised last year from Malaria No More. And while I am donating a considerable amount of money myself in a show of confidence for this cause, I am simply not going to throw down $300 for a web page. So what I'm thinking is simply PayPal followed by a secure wire transfer. That's the safest way to transfer funds, and the $35 or so processing fee is tolerable. If it was possible, I would simply get Dr. Uzegu himself to set up his own PayPal account so you could donate to him directly and leave me out of it completely. But the problem is that, as it currently is with several other countries, PayPal is not accessible in Nigeria. Now, the irony in choosing this methodology is that it is eerily similar to that employed by one well-known individual concerning a Sick Kids Hospital fundraiser, to whom my own Malaria No More fundraiser was in opposition to. So I understand that with choosing this methodology, transparency becomes an issue. So I ask you, with respect to myself, just how much transparency do you need? And how much do you trust me to be the intermediate in this exchange between donor and recipient? What can I do on my part within reasonable measure to make things more comfortable and reassuring for you? On the part of the recipient, again, within reasonable measure, what can Uzegu do? He could, for example, provide a log of all his expenditures, and I could relay that information back to you. Needless to say, I will provide his email address to you so that you could talk to him directly and ask questions, though I will provide this at a later time as there's first a couple things I need to clear up with him. As a whole, how can I make you more interested and comfortable with this operation? I could, for example, have an interview with my Nigerian-Canadian biochemistry professor who has known this individual and worked with him for many years, and post this video recording on my channel. Now, understand though that if I put a named university professor on my YouTube channel, this sort of negates a lot of the anonymity I currently enjoy, and that's something I'm not entirely comfortable with. The advantage though is that if it was made public knowledge where I am, it would also be possible to obtain a disinterested individual present on YouTube and living in my location who can accompany me to the bank or wherever else I need to go and verify that everything has went as agreed. As far as the entertainment factor goes, would you be interested in me hosting a blog TV event or something equivalent to that? Again, as a whole, do you have any fears, contentions, worries, suggestions, advice, or other things about this whole issue that you would like to bring to the table? If I were to simply set up the PayPal account and employ a few measures already suggested, would that be adequate already? The reason why I'm making this video is to ask you, how can we make this work? As I would like to gain a feel for the magnitude of support I expect to receive, I left two questions in the comments section. Please answer and follow the directions carefully. Lastly, it would be worthy to mention that I've been deliberating with Theo Warner over the possibility of gaining the support of Tuesday Afternoon. Theo told me that he would be ecstatic about adding a charity element to his online group, but he also expressed to me his own interest in possibly making this a sustained long-term effort by some means, selling items online or something. I've also been in prior touch with people like Rational Roundtable, Thunderbolt, Bossman, Cartesian Theist, just to mention a few people in Mini, and they have already expressed their own interest in helping out somehow. This concludes everything I have to say thus far. Have a good one.